Alright, this is John Cola with OKRaw.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you here at the end of the first, hopefully annual, Great Canadian Fruit Festival. And the reason for this episode today is because actually I want to talk to you guys about having and putting on your own fruit festival or other raw foods or even plant-based vegan events, right? You know, when I say, oh man, I'm going to a fruit festival in Canada, and people say, hey, have one in LA or have one in whatever, New Jersey, or have one in Florida or have one in Texas or have one wherever, right? You guys could make it happen. I mean, that's what happened here. Ted Carr, who lives in this area, decided to put on an event in his area, you know. In the past, I have put on raw food festivals when I lived in Northern California. I did that several years in a row, you know. Every year I'd have more and more people come. I've put on raw food retreats like in Hawaii, you know, had a great event there. So I have put on events in the past, so I know what it takes. And the other thing that's important for me is that I have a business background. You know, I started my first business actually when I was in high school, you know, so I have that literally ingrained within me. And literally when you put on an event, it literally is pretty much, for the most part, just a business, but hopefully you have some heart into it, and your goal isn't just about making profit so that you can continue your fruit diet, but hopefully, you know, one of your main goals, aside from making profit, and of course to be sustainable, you do need to make a profit, is to spread the knowledge and accelerate, you know, the penetration of eating fruits and vegetables into mainstream culture. This is the most important thing I think that we can do in this day and age, because eating fresh fruits and fresh vegetables, number one, are better for you. Number two, they're definitely better for the planet because they take far less resources to grow and are less destructive than animal products. So with that, actually this episode is dedicated to teach you guys how you guys could start your own raw festival, whether in Canada, whether in the US, or whether somewhere else around the world. It's not very hard. It'd be good if you had a business background, but that's not even necessary because I don't think Ted Carr here has a necessarily business background. And definitely after finishing this event with him, you know, pretty much I'll say that everybody loved it. If you want to know more about the Great Canada Fruit Festival, check my last episode or maybe a couple episodes ago. You know, I share my review of the event, how it went. Also, many of the people that attended, I interviewed them, and you heard from them that they were totally satisfied with the event. Yeah, am I going to always nitpick any event because I want the event to be as best as possible? Absolutely. Am I always going to have suggestions? Absolutely. You know, do I have a business background and I know how to make things work because I've done my own events? Absolutely, right? And that's just how I am. But in this episode, I want to share with you guys how you guys could put together your own fruit festival, raw food festival, or whatever. So what we're going to do is we're going to head over to one of the event tents, and I'm going to sit down with you and guys share with you guys my opinions on this. And then a little bit later in the episode, actually, we're going to get Ronnie from the UK, who actually has successfully been running the UK Food Festival, I don't know, for a handful of years now, successfully. And we're going to get him to chime in on the subject and share his expertise as well. So to put on your own fruit or raw food event, it really isn't that hard. You're just going to need a couple things. Number one, you're going to need a brain, and you're going to need to make a lot of planning and plans, and actually also be fairly good at finances. So if you guys don't balance your checkbook or can't balance your checkbook, I would not recommend putting on a fruit festival, because you do need to pay attention to the numbers. Those are like the most important thing ever. Right? Because you could actually go broke and actually lose money and be in debt because of your fruit festival, and I have known that to happen from what I hear at some fruit festivals. So I think, you know, the most on a fruit festival, basically you need a few things. You know, number one, you need a location. Number two, you need the people that's going to attend and pay to come. Number three, you're going to need speakers or presenters or people that are going to draw people in. Number four, you're going to, of course, need the fruit if you guys are providing fruit, or like I did at my events. Basically, you know, my event was basically housed or right next to a farmer's market. Both my events that I had were both next to farmer's markets, so people could just go to the farmer's markets. In addition, at my events, I personally had vendors that actually paid spots to be there, to have a vendor hall. And actually, in honesty, that's what funded my event. The attendees paying the money to come didn't fund my event. The vendors that showed up that was able to sell and market to my attendees funded the event, and my attendees were just kind of a side bonus. So actually my goal was to not really even charge attendees that much money, but to give them tickets for, even in many cases, many people came for free or cheap, because I wanted the vendors to spot most of the money that would actually pay for my location, right? And then also I think those, and then also you need some kind of organizational structure and hopefully some volunteers to help you make that happen. When I did my event, I had a volunteer coordinator, Nova Lee Truesdale, and rest in peace, Nova Lee. Nova Lee is no longer with us. She was amazing. She helped me out so much to make sure that my events happened. And literally just with me and her, we made the whole event happen. And of course, also a big crew of volunteers that we organized and kept in place. I think the other thing that's super important is planning. There's no, nothing that can make you fail more than planning. And at this event, personally, at the Canada Fruit Festival, I could think that they could have probably some better planning, maybe like better projections and forecasting with the fruit, like planning the schedule out far in advance. I mean, they posted the schedule like the day before or the day of the actual event. And even though on the website it said coming soon. So, I mean, I think at least having a schedule, far in advance of the event is probably pretty good. And yes, of course, the schedule is subject to change. You can make lots of changes. Anyways, how do you get a fruit festival happening? Okay, so I think number one thing you need is a location. You need to know where you're going to have it. And so, like when I was looking where to get a fruit festival, I went around to local spots in my area. You could go around to local parks. You could go around to like local city buildings that have like multi-use areas that you could like rent out. You could go to local campgrounds like they did here. This is just basically a campground with basically very simple toilet and shower facilities and basically tent camping. Like at Woodstock Fruit Festival, basically they rent out a kids campground that's used during this kids summer camp for the summer, and then right after they close, they keep the staff on for a little bit longer so that they could have the Woodstock Fruit Festival. So find like a facility like that, which actually has like the lake next to it and already all the facilities to do athletics things, and it actually has a kitchen in place. I mean, this location had a kitchen on site. They actually had to bring in refrigerated trucks because there was no major storage of fruit or anything. They didn't have that. So yeah, the location. You could maybe do it at a hotel maybe. I mean, that might cost really expensive depending on where you are in the world to rent their like meeting or convention space. Convention center, that's kind of getting kind of big, and I think most people into fruit would probably rather actually be outdoors and experience nature. And find out that, and see if you want to serve fruit or serve food, like some of the places that I checked into to do an event, like you have to use their chefs in order to have the event at their location. So you got to find some place that'll allow you to bring in the food and use your own chefs if you're going to provide food, or like I prefer to do, keep the food out of it because it just keeps it a lot more simple. Like here they overbought food. Woodstock every year pretty much they overbuy food. And food is also a great expense, but also on some levels it's a draw when you're offering unlimited fruit, or fruits and vegetables to eat for people. I think people really like that because they don't have to worry about the food and they can just worry about like socializing and learning and doing things at the event, which is kind of cool. For me, the food here was totally acceptable. They had ripe cherries every day. They had celery. I got to be able to eat in the morning, and they have nice salads at night, and I'm like totally happy. I don't need like a super huge variety, but I do need some good key ripe things that are really good so I can enjoy them. So yeah, location is important. And then the other thing is scout out locations. And when you're scouting out locations, number one, find out like how many people the location can hold. That's very important because that's going to determine how many people you could have and also the cost of the location. So you'll find different locations in your area, and some may be suitable and some may not be, depending on like if the location costs a lot of money, then you might not be able to afford it. And unless you get like a lot of people, so then you got to start doing some math. Say the location costs $10,000 to rent, right? And say you get 100 people, and so if the location's $10,000 to rent, you get 100 people. Each person basically has to pay out of whatever you're going to charge is like $100, so that you cover the location costs. And then the rest of the money you're charging, maybe you're charging the people $200 or $300, right? The rest of the money has to go to the other things. You have to rent tables, you have to rent tents. If the facility doesn't have those, you have to go out and buy the food for everybody, and you could allocate like 4 or 5 pounds of food per person per day, and it just kind of gets complex. But finding the location is the key, number one thing. Once you find the location, you run some numbers. If you want to have vendors, you could bring them in and charge them vendor booths that they could have set up during the whole event. You know, many fruit festivals actually don't like to have vendor booths for whatever reason, because they don't want to be like non-commercial. But like I personally don't have a problem with having some good vendors providing products or services that would be in relation to, you know, like a fruit and vegetable diet. I think that'd be really great because people would like to know about some new cool products like maybe freeze dryers, and have a freeze dryer company demonstrating their freeze dryer and giving freeze dried samples out. You know, that'd be pretty cool. So you could have vendors and they would help pay for, you know, some of the fees, because you would charge them a vendor fee, which would be, you know, pretty kind of expensive actually in comparison to what you know, attendee would pay. So for example, like at my event, I forget exactly what I charge vendors, but I could have charged vendors like $500 to $1,000 to come to have a table for the weekend. So that way my ticket price for my people coming was like sometimes, you know, buy one, get one free, and it was $39.99 at my events that I had. Of course, I did not provide food because basically the vendor took on now the responsibility of the money so that we could all come together and have a good time. And then of course you got to get people there so that the vendors are happy, because if there's a lot of people come, people will spend money with the vendors. And also, you know, the vendors will know that, you know, they're creating awareness about their products in this specific community that they may not otherwise have access to. So once you got a location, scope out, like I scoped out so many different locations, and I basically tried to find the right location, figuring that I'd maybe get like a couple hundred people the first year, right? This year Ted had around 200, 250 people, maybe upwards of 300 maybe, but probably more like 250. And so, I mean, that's probably a good starter number. I think most of the raw food events get about 250 people. So at least your space should have 250 people. I mean, it would be far better to get a smaller space and fill it to capacity and say you're sold out, instead of like, but John, I want to get a space that could hold 1,000 people, and even if I sell 100, it's fine. No, because that space that's going to hold 1,000 people generally is going to cost you a lot more to rent, and then you may be going negative. So it's always better to under promise and over deliver. And I'm actually sad to say that at this event, as you learned in my video review, they actually over promised and under delivered. That's really bad in business. You never want to try to over promise and under deliver. You want to always under promise and over deliver. So after you have your location, then you have to try to get people on board, you know, speak. So that could be the draw. So you want to reach out to social media and people that have a good following, people that you look up to, that you admire, that has been teaching this stuff for a while. Like, I'm always available to speak at different fruit festivals and raw food events. Just contact me, let me know, and I'd be glad to come out and help promote and speak at them, provided you have a good sound plan. That's very important. And so I'm sure many of my other friends and people that have been doing this would also like to, because literally we all just want this message to get out to more people. And whether I got to show up at events or whether I got to make more YouTube videos, I don't really care. So, you know, getting a lot of people on board as speakers, that would be your draw. You know, a lot of people came just to see me at this event. A lot of people came to see Elise or, you know, Raw Alignment, or, you know, Giovanna or Doug Graham or other people, you know. And then after that, I think what's really important is, you know, you got to put together a website. Websites are not too hard to put together. Put together a nice website. And then also what you need to do is you need to do marketing. And so that's where I'm going to say Ted is a freaking genius, right? Ted had the marketing for this event down, and I would say the marketing was actually better than this event personally. But everybody that came to the event, I will say, loved it. You know, I'm always going to be critical of every event because I always see things could be improved on, and that's just how I am, and also with me and in my diet in my life. So, but yeah, everybody loved it here, and he did amazing at the marketing, how he did it. He basically just promoted it to some of the people that were coming and had us push out to our followers to come. And basically it was an affiliate program, so he had us marketed for him to our followers, and we would get a little bit of a money if people came because of us, which is great. And then he actually, in addition, he held a contest. So contests are amazing. The contest cost for him was relatively nothing because he was basically giving away free tickets, and it was fixed cost because no matter how many people come, he's pretty much paying the same, except for some extra fruit. You know, he has to buy some extra fruit for people that come. So that was great. You know, he was giving away tickets valued at $500+, and he gave away over 10 tickets, including somebody actually won free plane fare, which is kind of cool. So that was really good. He built up his email list really strong from coming from nowhere, and he got like over 250 people here. You know, I don't know how many exactly paid, but so that was really good. So, but once you have people that are committed to come, then you can't just stop there. You got to keep going, keep going with your marketing, and also keep going with, you know, your planning and making sure the event happens without hitch. So once he knew he had 250 people coming, you know, he should have made sure that he had the schedule up and available, and he had notified all the speakers when they're speaking and what's exactly happening, and also so that the people attending, so that they know what to bring, so that they, you know the schedule, so they could plan out their day and what they want to do. And I think that's where it kind of fell short. So if you guys plan an event, you know, make sure you have a schedule. You know, as soon as speakers say they want to speak, ask them what they want to speak about, and ask them, you know, what days or times they would prefer to speak at. Get them on the schedule. So that's basically a done deal. You know, set how long you want to have the speaking times and the eating times and all that stuff. If you guys want to have predetermined times for that. You know, here at this event, I really liked that they didn't actually have predetermined meal time. So there's no time to eat breakfast. There's no time really to eat lunch. They just had food out all day. That being said, the food did change during the day. So, like, of course, in the morning, they put out more melons. But if you're not a morning eater, like I'm not a morning eater, I never really got any melons, but I don't care because I'm going to eat the cherries anyways. And for dinner, you know, basically that's when they put out the salads and some of the dressings. So if you eat salads in the morning or in the afternoon, you're kind of screwed because you get the salads in the evening. But, you know, that definitely, I think, worked for most people. So I think the hardest part about planning a raw food event is actually sourcing the food, which, you know, on some levels Ted did pretty good, but on some levels he didn't. So I think, like, he contacted an organic produce distributor, which was great. So a lot of the stuff he got from them directly, but in general, you're going to probably pay more that way than actually going to farmers directly. Like, I went to the 2 farmers markets in the area, and if you are holding a fruit festival or a raw food event in your area, you know hopefully where you guys are buying your produce. Like if I had an event in LA, I know where in LA to go to get the best produce for the cheapest price, and I could probably do a really good event in LA because I have the produce availability, but I don't have good space or any place to actually have the actual event. But that being said, you gotta basically, if you're gonna include the food, which is like a whole nother level that I don't have experience with, so we'll be sure to talk to Ronnie about that. You got to basically just, buy enough food for the people. So times the number of people. So for example, you have 250 people here. You got to feed each of them like 4 to 5 pounds of food a day. So that means you're going to have to buy about 1,000 pounds of produce per day per person, you know. And some people are going to eat more, some people are going to eat less, and that's where the challenge comes in. So the suggestion I have made in the past of some fruit festivals that maybe haven't listened to me, a term in business is called just in time. So this means you want to get the produce in, so like as much produce as you're going to use on Friday, you want to get on Friday, put out on Friday, so that by the time Saturday comes, you have 0 produce, and you have to go out and get it again. So I mean, I know on these weekend events, you know, there's a farmer's market in town on Saturday, and there's farmer's market in the other town here on Sunday. So easily they could have went out to the farmer's market and just got fresh fruit or seconds, things that were going bad from the farmer's market, and then brought it here to serve, and that'd be totally the cheapest way to go. And probably they could also check the quality to make sure they're actually getting good stuff. I mean, but yeah, sourcing and getting the fruit, that's probably beyond the scope of this episode. But yeah, providing enough food for people is definitely really important. And I think another part that's really important is, you know, having a volunteer staff and being able to delegate. Like, I'm not really good at delegating too much. I definitely would need somebody to help me do that, because I like to do it myself, because otherwise I believe it's not going to be done properly. But sometimes you need to delegate, and that's when, you know, if you have a bigger crew, if you don't trust everybody on your crew, that's when things could totally fall apart and things might not happen. So that means it might be a lot more work for you if you really want to make an event happen. And yeah, once you have a location, you kind of figure out the produce costs, you kind of run some rough numbers and see how much is it going to cost you just to put on an event with the location and the food, right? And maybe like rental tents or other things you may need, because there's always expenses that come up. You might need to get some licenses or permits for what you're doing. So the next thing you need to do that's most important is you got to run numbers. So you got to know and figure out how much to charge people that are going to come. Say your location cost is like $10,000. Your food cost is going to be $10,000. For like rental buildings and things, it's going to be $10,000. So now you're basically $30,000 in, and say you expect like 100 people to come, right? And at 100 people to come, if it all cost $30,000, that means that would be each person is paying like $300 to come, and that means you would just break even. But here's the thing. Now, say you got, instead of 100 people coming, which is your worst case scenario, you could probably get 100 people. Say you got 200 people to come. Then instead of $300 each person would only cost you $150. So then you got to set your pricing on how much are you going to charge people. And I mean, of course, we didn't put all the fixed costs in here. There may be costs for transporting speakers or giving speakers money or all this kind of stuff. Then you got to figure if each person shows up costs you $150, what are you going to charge them? You know, maybe $200, maybe $300. Do you have some kind of cushion in case things go awry? And then basically once you got that, you know you could do it, and you could say, I want to at least get 100, so I'm going to break even. And if I get 200, then I'm actually kind of going to maybe make a little bit. But then maybe you're going to actually put a little bit more into decorating and doing some extra nice things so people have a better time, so that they could talk it up, so that you just keep growing, you know, the event year after year. Because, you know, my goal, if I was to have an event like this, my goal is to like make a ton of money. And if it's your goal to make a ton of money by having a fruit event, I suggest you do not do that. I mean, if you want to make a little money, I mean, I would think that 10 to 20%, you know, off the top is a legitimate profit you should take if you have a successful event. But then you shouldn't be penny pinching, not buying extra tahini, not putting out all the fruit because you want to make more money, and then your people that are attending are going to have a poor experience, not come back, and then more importantly, badmouth you and say bad things, so that basically your event is never going to happen again. All right. So I think those are some of my opinions on things. It's basically having to do with finances, finding the right location. I think what I want to do next for you guys is get Ronnie, who's put on the UK Fruit Festival, in here to tell you guys more about how to run a successful fruit festival or other raw food event. So now I'm here with Ronnie Smith, the founder of the UK Fruit Fest. He's been running the UK Fruit Fest successfully now for 5 years, so definitely if you want to do something in life, I would encourage you guys to seek out and find somebody that's already been doing it successfully, right? Model somebody or follow somebody that's doing something successfully, and just basically follow what they do or hopefully what they say, so that you also could be successful in many areas of life. So my name is Ronnie. Why did you start a fruit fest in the first place?
Well, firstly, thanks, John, for the interview. And really, it was just purely out of passion. You know, you hear people say, follow your passion, follow your joy, or whatever it is. I ended up finding out about this lifestyle, and I attended the Woodstock Fruit Festival in 2012, the first time. And I came out of that thinking that that was one of the best experiences of my life, really. And I thought to myself, I enjoyed the festival so much, I should go to other events like this, because I just got this feeling like this is the best thing in my life right now. This is the thing that I'm enjoying the most, and the thing that I really want to focus on. So that next year I went to Thailand to an event, I went to Denmark, I went to a small event in London, I went to an event in a place called Slovenia, I went to Spain, and I went back to Woodstock. So I went to a lot of festivals, and every time I just thought every single one of these is fantastic. Even though there was problems and issues, it was a great community, it was a great vibe. Obviously I loved the diet, I loved the food, I loved the education. I really liked the education from some of the speakers, so I was going back to listen and learn more, and really wanted that education, so that was a lot of the value for me. But I just had this idea that started to happen, that I was thinking, I'm meeting a lot of people from the UK at these events, and I thought it'd probably be easy, or it'd probably be not easy, but there's probably a lot of people who would like to go to something in the UK. And I was thinking about this, and I was speaking to Dr. Doug Graham, who spoke at a lot of these events, and I found out that he actually lived in the UK, which a lot of people don't realise. And I said to him one time, would you be part of an event in the UK if we put it on? And he said, yes, I would support that. You know, so I thought, well, if he would be part of it, there's a good chance that something can happen here. So we happened to put together a small team of people. Essentially, I was just getting friends together for a small event. We were just all meeting up together in a small campground. We were just meeting up to eat fruit for a weekend. We happened to kind of open it up to other people. I think we put a website together or a Facebook group or something. And we had about 30 people show up, and they all paid a little bit to come. And at that event I said, who would like to work in a fruit festival? And 11 people came to this meeting, and we all decided we're going to work on this fruit festival together. And that was really the start of it, and none of us had an idea what we were doing. I didn't have a clue what I was doing, but I believed in the idea that you should follow, you know, the things you're excited about in life or passionate about. You should try and follow that and go through with it. And even if it doesn't work out the way you planned, the lessons you get from it are incredible, and at least you tried something, at least you went out and done something. So that was the evolution of the event, and that first year was one of the biggest of the festival, was one of the biggest learning curves of my life, one of the biggest personal growth experiences of my life, and I went through so many emotions and so many stresses, and so many funny things happened with relationships with people, with friendships, and a lot of the people who originally were going to help out, a lot of them ended up not even coming to the festival.
Wow.
There's a lot more to that.
Yeah,
There's a lot of
sure.
story behind that, but essentially, I had to sit after the festival and say to myself, because I had to say, am I going to keep this going? And what I've decided is that I really wanted to be part of my vision and purpose in life to help promote this lifestyle through trying to create more festivals and events, and still learning about how to do that properly, and grow those events so that they can act as a place for not just a focus for people to come and learn about it and experience it, but also as a hub for example, the press, or what the modern form of press is, I guess, like social media and things like that, to come and film it, to come and photograph it and get the message out to more people. So that when I became clear that I wanted to do it more out of purpose than anything else and out of service, then I decided, I need to keep this going and try and keep on doing it regardless of how tough it was to get it going.
Wow, that's amazing. So he did it pretty much out of his passion and drive, and he didn't necessarily start it to like become a business to like make $1 million, because if there's many other businesses that are definitely better businesses than starting a fruit festival, that could be like you could lose your shirt. So
yeah, I mean, I was kind of anti-business in a way, like, you know, a lot of people in this community and stuff, they're kind of all about going back to nature and whatever, and getting, a lot of people are anti-money, you know. I've got raw food meet-up groups and things, and or even at the festivals, and people are like, well, more so at the meet-up groups, they're like, they want to live out without money out somewhere in the jungles and all that, and I'm not saying I was exactly like that, but I definitely didn't grow up as an entrepreneur or a business person, didn't come from that background, and realised very quickly that I needed to learn a lot of those skills. And that's the thing about it being your passion, is like, you need to think, right, how am I going to do this? How do I make this successful? And you start to look, right, I need to learn those skills, those entrepreneurial skills, that I didn't think, because I think a mistake that some people will make when they start a festival or something is they might think to themselves, well, there's so many people out here that love this lifestyle, and if we put on this festival, loads of people are going to come. And I was naive in thinking that as well. I thought, it's the only fruit festival in the UK, so we're just going to get all the raw vegans out there are going to run to it. And it didn't happen. It didn't happen like that at all. So that was a big lesson that I learned. And I had to learn, right, okay, I need to promote it, I need to market it, I need to sell it, I need to, you know, and then the organisational skills, then management of people, management of tasks, and a whole lot of things. But it's been a great learning process, and I wouldn't probably have learned those things without having followed that passion initially.
right, yeah. So if he even ever got into wanting to have a fruit festival, he would have had to learn how to literally become an entrepreneur so that he could propel the message of fruit out to the world. So that's really great, Ronnie. So why don't we get into more some of the nuts and bolts? Like, say somebody's watching this right now, like wants to have a fruit festival in the U.S., you know, in Texas or Oklahoma, or maybe even in New Jersey or Florida or California. Like, do you think they should even try to do it? Because there's already the Woodstock thing in New York that happens every year. Like, should there be other fruit festivals besides just the ones that are currently happening in the world?
I personally believe there could be a Woodstock-sized festival in almost any state in the US. I personally believe that. And a lot of people might think, oh, that's crazy, there's only 500 people at Woodstock and that's for all of America, but I don't believe that. I don't believe that message is getting out to anywhere near enough people. The message of these festivals, the health and everything else that's involved, is of value to almost every human being on the planet, right? So everyone's got, either they're interested in the environment, or they're interested in their health, or they're interested in the welfare of animals, or they're interested in the welfare of the planet, or they're into the organic issue, or whatever it is. And these events are really can touch upon all these things, but virtually everyone in the population has some level of disease or illness. Like, it's kind of it's kind of fascinating. It's kind of scary, really, and that's another thing that inspires me. Is I know that you can go to Texas, wherever. We know there's so many people that are sick out there. They need this information. So for us to say we're not going to put an event on in Texas, like there's not enough people interested in it here. Everyone eats barbecue in Texas. It's like that's not true. Like, and I hate that idea. In fact, Texas probably has fantastic fruit. I've never been there, but it's got great weather. I'm like, if I can do it in Slovenia, if there was one in Denmark, there can surely be one in Texas. We've got one in Canada. So, like, I truly believe that. But one thing I would say is, like, say if you're from Texas, or say you're from California, you might want to think to yourself, if you're just someone like myself who was just really a part of the movement, not really an influencer or a big name or anything like that, you might want to consider getting in touch with someone and saying, like John, would you come to the event? Would you support it? Would you be part of it? We want to do something. Would you put us in touch with the right people that may be able to help us out? So you might want to you might want to start making connections. If you're in California, I'm not sure who the big name in California is in the fruitarian or raw vegan movement, but I'm sure there's someone. In Texas, obviously there's Christina, Fully Raw Christina. I can't imagine why she wouldn't support an event in Texas. And there's a whole bunch of people in different states. John's in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to say that publicly.
Yeah,
everyone knows where you are, right?
right?
So, if someone was putting on they put on a fantastic event in Las Vegas, I'm sure John would love to be there speaking at it. And all these speakers as well at these events, they're not getting invited to that many things. So if you can do all the hard work of putting the whole thing together, and they can come in and share their passion, there's a bunch of them that would love to be part of it. So you can start reaching out to people, and gradually that'll happen. But yeah, I believe that Texas, California, and I don't know the exact size of every US state, but a lot of those states are bigger than some of the countries that fruit festivals happen in. So Denmark had 5 million, is a population of 5 million. I'm sure there's a lot of US states that are much bigger than that. I think the fruit fest, and then when you think about countries, I think every country could have a festival apart from like maybe the really poor or smaller ones. But there should be a great one in Australia. There could be an awesome one in South Africa, maybe, in France, Germany, all these big countries as well. So I think it would be great, and the reason John wants to make this video is to try and get more people to start these events. We want to show you that it's possible to do so, and fun, and a great experience for you.
Cool, Ronnie. So let's get into some more mechanics. Since you've done it already and put on 5 events, you have and made some good learning experiences the first time. So you know what to do, and more importantly, what not to do. Like, what would you say is the number one most important key thing that somebody watching this that wants to put an event on needs to do to be successful?
Okay. Well, I'm going to answer this in 2 ways, because the first thing is that what I want you to do right now is go out and find your venue.
Yeah.
I want you to find a place, and if you're really serious about it, I want you to put money down.
Wow. Well, wait, how soon out should they? So, like, I want to do it, and I could get the venue for 2 months away. Should they plan 2 months out, or should it be like next year out, or what kind of time frame? Because somebody might get excited and I can make all this happen in 2 months, but is that really realistic?
Sure. It's probably not realistic. I think you could do something small in 2 months for sure. I would, at the very least 6 months. At the very, very least 6 months. But you might struggle to find a venue that has the availability, so you might need to go a year in advance. However, just remember that there's a lot of people out there who say, I'll do it next year, I'll come next year. They think that something's going to change next year, and it's probably not. So I would, if I was working with you, and for example, if someone was to say to me, I want to do something in Australia, I would say, how about we do it in December and we start working on it right now? So this is August, or December or January, because I really believe we could do something good in 6 months. But you might want to take a year. Find your place, and don't put all the money down, but put a deposit down. Set the dates. That's the start of the process. So that's what I would say as an action is the first thing you want to do, and your dates, and maybe put up a page or start announcing it and just saying, hey, we want to work in this festival and who wants to be part of it and who wants to help. And you're going to get support and people coming to you and asking to help. But in terms of the success of your event overall, what I really want you to do is realise that the absolute most important thing about an event is that an event doesn't happen unless there's people there. There needs to be people at the event, and it's fantastic to have John here, to have speakers like Doug and all the other speakers. It's great, but if we just invited them, it would be a good party or whatever. But we want people there who are coming to learn. We want attendees, and we need volunteers as well, but we really want to focus on how do we get attendees to this event. You want to focus on that probably more than almost anything else, to be honest, because a lot of the other stuff can be done fairly quickly or can be delegated quite easily. In fact, sometimes it's better for it to be delegated. But I really think that you should focus on how do I bring more people to this event? How do I get out to more people? How do I get this message out? How do I communicate effectively with people to make them understand what is the value of them giving up their time, investing their money, and travelling to get to this event and spend their time? A lot of people don't want to travel. A lot of people don't want to sit in front of people and listen to lectures. A lot of people don't like the idea of their accommodation being restricted or whatever it is. So you really need to communicate with people what is the value of what you're doing, and be organised with that almost as much as you're organised with everything else. There needs to be a system or a strategy in place of how are you going to get this message out to people, and don't think that you're just going to put up a Facebook post and everyone's going to sign up, or you're just going to say, hey John, put a YouTube video up and everyone's going to come, and like thousands of people are going to sign up just out of the back of a YouTube video. You need to be constantly promoting it and getting that message out there and speaking to people and reaching people. And I would say to me that's the fundamental number one thing, that the reason that events fail is they start to focus too much on the detail of the other things that aren't as productive as trying to bring more attendees.
So are you getting attendees because you want the event bigger to educate them, or because they're literally the fuel source or the money that's going to allow you to put on the event? Because then if that's the case, then I would say, why not bring on vendors? Because say you're charging $500 a head, but you could charge a vendor $5,000 to come to sit up a table so that you could market to people. Now you could get 10 less people by just getting one vendor.
Well, that's a really.
What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean that's a great point, John. I've not got to that stage yet where I've really made a lot of focus in trying to find vendors and sponsors. It's probably something that I've fell behind a little bit in, but I do think that the more that you get sponsors and vendors and things, it will change the tone of it. It depends on what kind of event you want. And I do think it's perfectly legitimate. There is an event in the UK that is more of that style of bringing vendors, and but I just feel like there's not a lot of appropriate vendors in the UK for what I'm doing. A lot of the people that would like to come to my event are holistic therapists, practitioners of these kind of things, therapists, healers, whatever, and I think that distracts from the message. The other people that might want to come, there's a company that sells exotic fruit. They might come, but I don't think that, having dealt with them and spoken to them, I don't think they're looking to pay me to come. They'd almost want me to pay them to come. So a lot of these businesses that are involved in raw food are not particularly evolved businesses in the UK. The way that potentially Vitamix or a bigger organisation like that, they understand the value of coming to an event and pay a vendorship fee. But a lot of the smaller, like the person that's just making some raw cakes and all that, they don't understand the value in doing that. And I've had people, John, that they say, oh, I can't come to the festival, I'm investing all my money in my juice cleanse business or something along those lines. And I'm thinking, okay, you're going to spend all this money in your juice cleanse business, but the number one thing you're going to be spending money on is finding customers. I guess, well, maybe not always,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
that's going to be a big expense over the
course.
long run. And that's what you're going to get automatically at the festival.
Absolutely.
And the thing is, as your festival grows, people do start to take advantage of it a little bit. They do start to try and market their stuff, even though they've not asked you if they can do that. So you do get a little bit of that here and there. So I would, but I do think sponsorship, and I would like to work potentially with some sponsors, and I am going to try and come up with a system and you know, try and reach more sponsors and see what comes of that. And I think you make a good point that if we can get more sponsors, we can bring the price down for people.
Right.
We can potentially get a lot more people, and then we'll be reaching more. And then, but there might be a sacrifice there where the sponsor is going to have certain things they want me to do, especially if a bigger sponsor. They're going to want maybe agreements, contracts. They're going to want all the financial information to be absolutely 100% in place first before they do anything. They might want accountants, lawyers involved. I don't know yet, but it's something that I think I will explore.
Yeah, definitely something to look at. I mean, that's pretty much like my event when I did my events, which are raw food festivals, you know, is focused around the vendors would basically pay the money, and that would make the event affordable for the attendees. So I didn't have to charge the attendees like a ton of money to come, because my goal is to get people in the seats to listen to lectures so that they could get their lives changed and not like, you know, walk away with profit. So let's see. So Ronnie, what percentage on average of the take that you get in? Say you know, for example, I'm just making up numbers. Say 100 people come, they each pay $500. That's like what, like $50,000. And so, what percentage at the end do you feel is reasonable for somebody to make as profit? And were you even profitable? And are you still even profitable at this point? I don't know.
Well, I think that in the first year we lost a lot of money. The second year we lost a little bit of money. so
now you're just recouping the money
yeah,
you lost.
Yeah. So
So don't do this if you want to make a lot of money.
Yeah. Well, the idea of profitability as well is the whole idea of making a profit is not that there's money left over after you've paid everyone else. It's that there's money left over after you've paid everyone else and yourself and whoever's working on it. So I would say that I definitely want. I can't say exactly if there's an exact number right now. I know that last year I did a little bit better than this year, so now I need to look at other things. But I really start to look at it as that you might not want to look at it as how profitable can I make the festival as a one-off event, but think about it as you're building a relationship with a large audience of people that you can then throughout the rest of the year potentially market other products if you wish to do that. So if you're a coach, if you're someone that's a coach or a lifestyle coach, a fitness coach, if you are doing programs and writing books and you're a speaker or things like that, there's almost nothing better than you can do if you can do it than put on a festival. Because everyone at my festival, if I was to offer something and other people are offering it, I'm pretty sure they're going to go to...
Because they know you, they love you because you put on the events and they know you're legit.
Yeah, they're gonna, and another thing is, someone like, let's say John had some idea, or someone he knows wanted to do an event or something like that. You've built these relationships with people like John, with the other influencers, the other leaders in the movement, so they're going to go, okay, maybe I can get Ronnie to help with this, maybe I can ask his advice or opinion on it, or my friend wants to run an event, maybe I should see if Ronnie can help him out with it, or whatever, you know. So I think that is definitely a way of making the events profitable. I thought I'd kind of worked it out last year, but this year I've realised I had more people this year, but I would say that we didn't have as much money left over this year. At the same time, I've still got money to pay back from previous events, because I had the second year there was a little bit of money lost, but I mostly made up for that. The first year there was more money lost, and my parents made up for it.
Wow.
So it wasn't an astronomical amount, but it was more than I could afford. So I was thinking, right, I need to sell this, I need to do this,
Wow.
and all this. But they they covered it, and I've paid about half of that back so far. So I need to keep on. That's another reason why I kept the festival going. To be honest, it's not right. I need to try and pay this money back. But no, I actually think that the way to make it profitable, and I believe that it's through offering something else at the event that is probably good, that potentially is going to be a fairly high value. So it depends on what the community wants, but a lot of events are set up where the actual event itself doesn't turn, in terms of the ticket money, doesn't necessarily generate a profit, but at the event there's either merchandise for sale or there is offers for retreats and packages. I mean, this is what marketing
or add-ons
do,
yeah,
and I don't really want to go down that route in particular, and a lot of the speakers don't really, they a lot of them don't really mention their retreats or anything. They don't really like doing a sales pitch, but that's the classic model of a lot of marketing seminars and things. Is like everyone goes up and it's a pitch, right? Yeah. And whatever products are sold, then the event takes like 50% or whatever the cut is. So if you were to really look at it in terms, if you're all about like I'm going to try and make money out of this and whatever, which you should try and make money out of. I'm not saying you shouldn't, but that's probably the model to follow if you were to really don't really offer any food or whatever. Don't just make it in a hotel. Just hire the room in the hotel, and everyone else can deal with their accommodation. You can maybe offer a little bit of food or whatever, and just have speakers on, and they're all marketing their products. So if you wanted to do it like that and really make money, you potentially could. But what I'm trying to say is that if you are a coach, you can go up at the end of the festival and say that you've got a coaching program, and you're looking for 10 people. And it could be, I don't know what coaches charge, but you could probably charge more than the average coach, because now you've built a relationship with them, you've showed them that you can get things done. There's guys like John standing beside you, and they think, wow, if John trusts this guy, then maybe I should. That kind of thing. So look at it like that. You're building an audience, and you can service that audience. You can provide other, hopefully, products to them in the future. That's the way that I can. I can kind of justify keeping on doing it, even though regardless of the money thing, because I know that I can create other things for this audience that I'm building a connection with, and that can be the financial part of it in the future.
I mean, and plus the other thing is when I put on events, I didn't do it for the money. I don't need to put on an event for money. I did it just to, number one, prove to myself that I could actually do it, because so many other raw events that were put on failed because they kept losing money. My events, I'll say I didn't. I at least broke even, if not made maybe $100 or $2, which actually did not pay for my time.
Yeah.
So but it was out of the heart, and like Ronnie and me, it's passionate to get this information out to people. And could I have monetized it better? Could I have made some money if I wanted to? Yes, but that wasn't my goal at all. And you can. So the thing I want to say is that don't bite off more than you could chew. Don't put down money for a super huge facility that could accommodate 1,000 people when truly maybe only 100 or a couple hundred people are going to show up. So you got to be smart about it, and that's what I really like to run my numbers to see where my break-even point is. How many people will I need? How many vendors will I have to charge X amount to basically at least cover my costs, so that I'm not losing lots of money out of my pocket. Let's see, what else do we want to talk about, Ronnie?
I do want to mention just the money thing that you're talking about there, and I do think that when we're talking about money, there's people in the community that are a little bit, and in just human beings in general, that are a little bit miseducated or don't understand money. Money is just a way of essentially measuring value.
It's a tool.
Yeah, it's a tool of measuring human value. In itself, it doesn't have any emotion in it. It doesn't have any kind of judgment in it. It is a tool, as John is saying. So, and without that tool, it would be so impossible for us to do so many things in life. It would just be chaos. For us to get fruit here, how are we gonna get a farmer? Why would a farmer even grow so many peaches or so many cherries or whatever if they didn't have a reliable idea that they're going to get something back for it? And what could we have given this guy back for $3,000 worth of fruit? What are we going to do? Go and work for him for 6 months?
No, sex, Ronnie. I will work peaches for sex.
Yeah. So So don't feel guilty if you want to do it and make it your living or make it an income or whatever. I do think as John was saying, it's a it's not the easiest business to do. But I will say this: if you commit to doing it and you learn how to do it, then other things will be easier for you. And if you know how to market and promote a festival and actually get people to it and get enough people to it to cover your money and everything, then if you put an ebook out, you're going to be able to market that much better than the average person, because you know what it takes to get someone to make a decision, which is what all marketing and sales is about. Can you get someone to make that decision? Yes, I'm going to this festival. And it's tough to get someone to make that decision. A lot of things are going on in people's lives. So, don't get all guilted up about the money. You do need to cover your costs and everything. And one thing as well is, you're going to get a lot of people coming to you saying, can I come for free in return for this? And it might sound great on the outset, like, oh, this person's going to give yoga or they're going to do this. But I want you to think about it like this. If, as John's saying, if you're charging $500 for your event, the person is not coming for free. You are paying $500 for that person to come. Get that philosophy in your mind. Is it worth my $500 for John to come or someone or whatever? Yes. But is it worth $500 for a yoga teacher that you've never met to come?
Or a magician.
Or a magician, or a friend of yours that's kind of a cool person and they might help out with this or that. Just remember, you're going to be paying for all that at the end of the day. And after all the people have gone home and after all the excitement's gone and all the fun and everyone's had a great time, you're the person that's left taking money out of your pocket to pay for this stuff. And it's not going to be such a magical feeling at the time when you're doing that as it was when everyone was hanging out and having a great time. And honestly, like, I've got to that point where even at my festival I'll see things happening and I do think about that a lot. I think about like, if a person's come for free, I'm like, I've paid for them to come. I've paid for them to come, and are they giving back what I wanted them to? No one's coming for free.
Yeah, is there a good exchange, basically?
Yeah. There's people volunteering as well. At some festivals, volunteers go for free and events, and I've just never done that. I've always had volunteers pay to come, and plenty of people are happy to do that. But if you're getting professionals and people that are working full time and all that, then that's great. But you'll get a ton of people that want to come for nothing, and your event can't run if everyone comes for nothing.
So Ronnie, what are maybe like 3 pitfalls you've seen running your events that maybe you didn't see in the beginning, but now that you've run events, you've seen, wow, man, I really shouldn't have done things that way. Like, what would you say?
Well, number one is probably really, really clear communication with the attendees, and the speakers, and that can be as simple as having signs up that accurately say exactly where things are. What are the room numbers? What rooms are people in? All the communication beforehand. Exactly what are you offering? Exactly what is the deal here? What happens if someone can't come, or is there a refund policy? Make all of it completely clear. Be clear about exactly what you are offering, so that when people turn up and if it's not there, I mean, literally, people can leave your event and ask for a refund because one thing isn't in place that they thought was going to be there. So communication, clear communication is really key with everyone, and it takes your stress away. Having a schedule properly done in advance that you can email out to people, that you can have printed up at the event. I personally like giving a schedule to everyone, and to me that's a really important thing, to make sure that the communication. When it comes to the food, having a good enough facility for the food. So you really want to have a kitchen that you can use. If you can find a place where it's a good kitchen, then that's awesome. You're already ahead of the game. If they've got a walk-in fridge, a big walk-in fridge, that's amazing. That's awesome. The actual order of the food as well has to be done pretty well. It's very easy to order too little. Another pitfall with the food was that you really need to have a team and a chef in place that is in control of all that and really knows what they're doing. There is I would say there's probably only a handful of people that can do it in the raw community. Alicia Ojeda is one of them. She's an exceptional chef. Chris Kendall is another, but I don't think Chris really wants to chef at festivals anymore, but he can do it. Katie Crane is another excellent person. I don't think she wants to do it anymore. Erin is excellent. I don't think she... Once again, it's like Alicia is basically the person that wants to do it. So get in touch with Alicia, I would say, if you're doing an event. If Chris would do it, that would be great too, but I don't think he wants to be the chef. But get your food under control with a good chef, so that you're not either under ordering, not having enough food, not having enough ripe food, which has been a problem at some events. We've never had too much of an issue at UK, but it has been a problem at other events. Or ordering too much food and you've got so much left over, and that can be a problem either of ordering too much or simply the kitchen team not putting out enough, like not being organised to know what's ripe, what can we put out now, and not having enough people to get the food out. That can be a problem. And I would say thirdly, in terms of a pitfall, well, I would try to. I'm thinking of what you're doing in terms of, you're bringing speakers, you're bringing potentially, entertainment and things like that. You really need to think about what's the value in what you're bringing, and if you've got speakers like John who bring a whole bunch of people, obviously he's totally worth your while bringing him and communicating with him and doing all that stuff. But you need to think about what's the value to the people that are coming, and do they really need to have do they really want a magic show? Do they really want massage for everyone? Do they really need do you really need to buy like t-shirts for everyone and all this stuff? Like, think about that. Like, there's a lot of unnecessary expenses that end up happening at festivals where someone thinks this would be a cool idea to do X, Y, Z, and really the time and focus should be in bringing and getting the people to come and finding out what are the things that are going to appeal to them. People want to see John, they want to meet him, they want to meet Doug, whoever it is, Christina, or whoever in this community that might come to an event. So you're much better off focusing on marketing them and communicating with your audience about those people that are coming and what they are going to bring to the festival, than trying to do all this additional stuff like, okay, we're going to have some crazy, like we're going to have a million workshops about a million different things. Like, I think that's a little bit of a waste of your time and energy. Also, a lot of the people doing workshops are maybe coming for free, and once again, they're not coming for free, you're paying for them to come. Are they worth that value? Could you get someone to do it for... I've had some exceptional attendees at the UK festival who paid full price to come, and on top of that did incredible workshops, just volunteered to do workshops and amazing things, and they proved to me that they were so worth it that now I bring them back for free. but after having met them and after having built a relationship with them, and now I know that they're as valuable as almost anyone else there. So I would say watch out for unnecessary expenses that are maybe more about what you would like than about what your attendees would like.
Cool. So those are 3 pitfalls. What are 3 things people should definitely do if they're going to be putting on an event?
I would say, I want to say we're starting with a clear vision, because some of the people watching this might not be doing a raw vegan event, maybe they're doing a gardening event or whatever it is. Just have a clear vision of who is it you're looking to bring, and what information, what's your vision of this festival, what's the impact you want it to have. But personally, with the festivals I run, the vision is to help advance this movement, to help get this idea out to more people. So the vision is bigger than all the business stuff and all the rest of it. That's all necessary, but the vision is the big guiding thing. That's what is going to bring people together. What's the vision of the event? The second thing is I would really like you to launch the event. Don't just put out a kind of little message on Instagram or something, or Facebook, like, oh, we've got a festival happening, and like, there's an event in Florida happening about right now, Florida Fruit Fest. I've really not heard anything about it. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of my friends in Florida don't know anything about it, because they're not launching it. Like, you need to launch the event. It's like anything else. It's not something that you just it's not like you want to keep it under the radar. Like, you wanna get it launched and have a whole plan in place. Like, this is the date, we're going to launch it, we're going to promote it up to that launch, we're going to do something special on that day. You're maybe going to have a special price for that day only to get your initial attendees, and then you've got a little bit of money in that you can put into more advertising marketing in the future. I also want you to think about, as part of the answer, I want you to think about building a community. So you're either going to do that through email list, like an email list. I love personally sending out letters. I still do that. So take people's address if they're willing to give you their address details, and a lot of them are. Phone number. All the social media things, they're all great as well. You can build those, but you've got less control over those than you do over an email list and everything else. So you want to have it set up so that if people want to find out more about your event, they can give you their information, and then you can communicate with them in a more organised fashion. And thirdly, I really think what you should do is get a chef. Like, get a really good chef. Alicia, I'll promote her a bit. She's great, and she's looking to do it. She is a professional chef doing like vegan food, but she loves doing the festivals. So she feels in her element at the festival. She loves the community. So that is if you can get someone like that, it takes off such a weight off your mind. They could do the whole food order for you. They can deal with the suppliers. They can tell you what equipment you need. They can tell you what kind of kitchen would be best. And so definitely, get a chef. And if you can get a really great presenter or speaker who's going to be your top speaker or whatever, then that would be another huge thing. If you can partner with someone that's already got a following in this community, then it makes it so much easier.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I'll second, like, Alicia. I've seen her work before. She's totally professional, and she does an excellent job. So I want to share a tip with you guys, actually, and probably my most important tip is do your market research. This is paramount. Even before you decide to do an event, do market research to make sure that your event is even feasible, right? Send out surveys. Ask people in the raw food community, your local community, right? That may be your future customers or maybe your attendees, and ask them what they want in an event, so you can provide that. That way, you're gonna sell them what they want instead of sell them something they don't want. And then if you do have an event, right? Once people sign up, ask them why they are coming to the event. So then you could actually take proactive, approaches and maybe add things to your schedule or do extra things that may not cost too much to make sure people have a great time, so they're going to talk up your event in the future. And more importantly, after the event, after everybody goes home, send out exit surveys. So send everybody an email, say, hey, answer this email, you'll go into a contest and you'll win a ticket for next year. This way you're going to get an increased response rate, and then you're going to ask them really important questions on why they came to the event. If they got those needs met, you could ask them to rate the food. You could ask them to how you could make the event better. You could ask them what they like the least, what they like the most. You could ask them to rate different speakers if you're wondering if speakers are pulling their weight or if they're good speakers or not good speakers. You could ask them so many different things, but you'll only do this if you actually ask them. I see so many places just never care about their customers or don't ask to see or to follow up, if things went too well. Anyways, you got any comments on that, Ronnie?
Well, yeah, I think John's absolutely right. The more information you can get about what people want, the more successful you're going to be. And I've found that it's actually I'm still a little confused as to like who's coming to these festivals, because there's a lot of new people. A lot of people come who aren't vegan. You might think it's all raw vegans that come, and often it's not. And there's 100% raw vegans in the UK who do not come to my festival and never have come, and I can't work it out. I don't know where they're meeting all their raw vegan friends, right? But anyway, no, what John's saying is absolutely. Every event should have like surveys and things in advance, afterwards as well, and it also, as John's saying, it lets you know, okay, people really love that. They really love that speaker. They really love this thing. So even if someone didn't bring so many people to the event, it might turn out that that person made so many people have a great time, so it's worthwhile bringing that person back. So it's really good to have that research to do that.
Cool, awesome, Ronnie. So I think the next question I want to ask you is for those of you guys that actually will probably never put on an event, or for those of you guys that will attend events, right? You know, I think it's really good that there's always new fruit festivals and raw food events coming up. But I want people to be a little bit discerning when they're choosing what fruit festival to go to, you know, because I hate to see people, and I have in the past gone to fruit festivals that actually didn't go so well. And when I go to fruit festivals, I give a full review, so you can check those out on my channel. The good, the bad, the ugly. I just tell it like it is from my personal experience, not to say anybody else's experience, although I do try to also interview people and share their experiences. But I want to try to save you from going to a bad event and wasting your money, because I would hate to even for me to promote an event where I'm told one bill of goods and then people leave and they're totally just not happy. So Ronnie, what are maybe 3 tips that people should look out for, you know, before they go to a raw food event that they may not be familiar with, that they want to ensure they're going to have a good time, or actually they're using their money wisely?
Yes,
and they're not going to get ripped off.
It's an excellent point, John, and I think one of the first things you can quite easily do is you can go around a lot of the forums online and you can just ask people. You can go on the forum of the actual thing and say, what was your experience of the event? You got to watch out, because some of the people that reply to that might work for the event, or they're a volunteer or something, so they're going to have a really biased opinion of it. But you can, if you're part of this community, you can ask around and you can usually get a good idea of the things that happened. You maybe want to speak to the presenters who were there at the event previously if they're not coming back.
Or what if it's a brand new event is the whole thing?
If it's a brand new event, I would say have a look at who's involved in running it. I mean, in some ways, if it's a brand new event, you might be a little bit skeptical about going to it. I mean, I would love you to just go out and try and support these events anyway, but it's a tough one, because there's some events that have been set up that you look at it and you go, that looks like paradise, amazing location, the fruit's probably dropping off the trees, you know, there's beautiful whatever, the ocean's amazing and everything. And some of these events haven't been very well run. I would be a bit concerned about going to an event in a location that's like a tropical location in a country that's maybe not as advanced as other countries. Actually, I'd be a little bit concerned to
like a third world country.
Yeah, like a third world country. Like I wouldn't necessarily want to
put yourself in that maybe potentially bad of a situation if things didn't work out.
Like, I wouldn't mind doing that, but would I recommend it to someone else? That's what I'm saying. Like, would I recommend it to someone else? I would recommend, obviously, the events that I know about already, and I don't know a lot of people that I would 100% recommend, like, this event's going to be great. You know, I would honestly say that. Like, I can recommend the events that I've been to. The ones that I'm involved in, I know a certain amount about how successful they're hopefully going to be. And you can ask me, I'm sure you could reach out to John, but if you want to reach out to me and say, have you heard about this event? What do you think about it? Have you heard about the people involved? There's a couple of events that probably if people had got in touch with me before it, they potentially might not have done it. I didn't want to publicly say that I didn't think the event was going to work out and that it would potentially cancel. I didn't want to say that publicly because I don't want to affect these events, but if someone had privately come to me, I would have probably warned them away from certain events. I don't want to name names because I knew a little bit more about what was going on. But I recommend most of the events out there. You know, I've been to most of them, so I recommend them. And even if things aren't perfect for people, I would say that if you're the kind of person that you need the best hotel room and everything to be perfect for you, I don't think there's many events that are set up for that yet. I mean, maybe at some point we'll have some really like high class raw vegan events, and you can have 20 butlers around you all the time, and you know, have 20 massages a day and all this stuff. But most of them, you need to have a certain amount of an adventurous spirit, a little bit of resilience, a feeling like I'm the kind of person, and I'm sure John is as well. Like, we could have fun at any event, we could have a good time. Some of you out there may be can't so much. Like you aren't as exposed to that, and you might really struggle to have fun unless things are in place for you, depending on your personality. So yeah, do the research. I mean, but certainly feel free to ask and look into it. I do think that the ones in other countries that you think, wow, that's an amazing exotic location, they've got a lot of problems actually. And you might not think it, but Doug Graham says to me that the UK has more availability of fruit and more varieties than a place like Costa Rica.
Wow.
And he's lived in both places. So that's his opinion in terms of him living in both places. But everyone would say to me, "Oh, you can't do a festival in the UK. There's not enough fruit there." But I know people that went to events in Hawaii that said, "I was disappointed in the Hawaii event. It wasn't as good as the UK Fruit Festival." And I'm like, "Well,
Was it my Hawaii event? I hope not.
It certainly wasn't John's Hawaii event, but it was. In fact, I don't think you were at that event, but it was an event in Hawaii. But yeah.
Well, mine was many years ago. I think everybody loved it.
Yeah, no, but so it's, I would, these events should give you enough information to make that decision. If there's not enough information there, it's it's going to be a struggle for you to work out. And I try and give a lot of information, almost overkill. I try and put out a lot, and even then there'll still be people that say, "Oh, I didn't know this or that." I really try and give. I send out what's called an information pack, which might be something if you're running an event. I offer people, if you want an information pack, put your address, and I'll send them out. Basically, usually about 12 pages.
Wow.
I'd like it to be more actually. 16. I think one year it was 16 pages of information.
Oh, a little book.
Yeah, and
That's just about your event.
And just as a marketing tip, like a lot of people keep a hold of that. They don't keep a hold of emails and print them out, but that thing's going to sit in their house. They're going to have a look at it. They're going to leaf through it. They're going to think about it and consider it. And some people, the day or a week before the event, they'll phone you up, and you might have sent that out months ago, but they've just had a read through it and they've decided, it's time for me to sign up. So I like giving out a lot of information so that people can make that decision easier. And you have to think about that. If you can't make a decision, maybe they've just not given you enough information for you to make that decision, and maybe they've done a bad job of promoting it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd be much more likely to go to an event that actually had some big full-color magazine thing that they're sending me to try to get me to the event than just a website to sign up that maybe doesn't look that great with just maybe like one, video or something promoting the event.
Yeah, I believe that as well. I believe that people get lazy with their promotion of it, and they're putting time into things that maybe aren't as necessary. But you have to think about someone sitting at home. They're thinking about the money, the time they have to invest. They're going to be around a lot of people they don't know. They've got a lot of questions in their mind, a lot of worries, a lot of fears. How are you going to address those fears? And that's why you need a lot of information. Address all these concerns that people have. Is it going to be worth their time? We'll show them the value in it. Is it going to be worth their money? We'll show the value of, what they would miss out on if they don't come, or the people that aren't spending money on going to these things, they potentially spend more money through the fact that they don't get the right information and they go down the wrong road, and they might spend more money on courses and books, and they get into all sorts of different areas, whereas if they come to one event, they get so much more value because you can come and speak to John, you can speak to Doug, you can speak to Ted or Christina or Chris Kendall or whoever's at the event. And if you wanted to go to, if you wanted to do maybe consulting or coaching with some of these people, some of them don't do it for a start and aren't able to answer all your emails and everything. And some of them, if they do it, it's maybe thousands of dollars more or whatever. So you could get that one question asked for, a small amount of the price coming to a festival.
Right. Yeah, so I mean, I don't want you guys to get fleeced, because I know as a raw foodist or into fruit diet or whatever diet you guys are on, you want community. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people doing fruit diet, raw foods, whatever you want to call it, like out there, but we're all so spread out, and these events bring people together, and it's so amazing. And I know people want community so bad, they're like, oh, this festival's coming up, I'm just going to do it or something. But I want you guys to be cautious. So here's my tips for like not getting fleeced at a raw foods or, a fruit festival, right? Number one, I want you guys to only go to established ones. Not to mean that like ones that are brand new are not going to be good, but go to established ones that have, you know, it would be the best thing to do, obviously, right? I like to go to new ones too, because I like to experience and try new things and see new things. I'm really adventurous, and, you know, like also like don't have your expectations too high, right? There's a lot of over-promising and under-delivering in my experience from some of the fruit festivals. So, you know, just try to be easy to please and don't expect everything. Although that being said, if you guys are running a fruit festival, I want you guys to also under promise and over deliver. That's always better than doing the reverse when you're promising tons of durians and then basically you might get a bite if you're lucky at the event. All right. Number two, check to see who is behind the event, right? Is it somebody that's known in the community? Like if I put on a fruit festival, you know, it's probably going to be legit. No, it will be legit, mark my words. But if it's somebody that you never heard of, you don't know, that's a friend of a friend on Facebook, you know, you might want to be a little bit cautious, you know, so that's really important. Also, I mean, after that, checking to see who's coming, right? If there's more than one name brand person, because I might go to some experimental fruit festival just to see if it's good or not and to make a video, because that's always fun for me. But if there's more than one or like a number of good solid people coming, then that may be a sign that it can also be good as well. And also make sure they have a good refund policy. Super important, super critical. Don't get fleeced. Like say you get kind of weary at the last minute, you want to get a refund. I mean, I really loved here at the Canada Fruit Festival that until like the first of the month, you know, they offered full refunds, which is totally amazing. And that's the kind of business you should support, not one that says, oh, no refunds, or we're going to keep $500 if you don't come. Like, that's kind of scammy, because then it's kind of like they're more doing it for the money, you know. So, I mean, that's probably my tips on that, on, you know, going to a good festival. I mean, just go to one that's already established, just to be safe and save your money, you know, for a good one, better than one that you don't know how it's going to end. So I think that's pretty much brings us to the end of the time. This video is getting also really long here. And what I do want to say, though, is I want to say that, you know, Ronnie, you know, is here, and he's here to help you guys get an event going. He can consult with you, work with you, even potentially partner with you, no matter where you guys are in the world, to help get your event going, because he is so passionate about getting more fruit festivals out there in the world. I would strongly recommend him because he has a track record and he knows what to do, so that you guys don't have to figure it all out yourself. So Ronnie, how can somebody get a hold of you and contact you if they're interested in working with you, or you working with them?
Thank you so much, John. And you know, we were talking about what's your number one tip or whatever for running a fruit festival. It is get in touch with me.
Hey man, you can't say that.
but yeah, no.
But honestly, you probably should.
To get in touch, and I'm happy to speak to you a little bit. And to get in touch with me, I'm on Facebook, Ronnie Smith, and I've got a picture of fruit around me, so you could connect with me there. I guess we could put my email address down below, but you can. My Fruitfest email address is info@fruitfest.co.uk, or you can look at fruitfest.co.uk and you'll find me there. UK Fruit Fest on Instagram and places like that. But definitely, if you want to do something, let's do it. And I really want to do something like in California, Australia. There's a few places that are like crying out for a festival.
Yeah, they're
crying out for a festival. So all we need, find a location and we'll do it. Find us a location. Find us a food supplier, and we'll do it. We'll get it done, and I'll be able to tell what chance of success we have. Canada Fruit Festival, working with Ted from the outset, I knew high chance of success because I'd worked with him before. He'd been at my festival. I knew what he was capable of, and I knew that we could have a certain degree of success. And in the first year, we've had 250 people, so we've done well. And if you want to try and get that kind of number of people to come, you know, speak to me and we'll see if it's possible.
Awesome, Ronnie. Yeah, thanks for doing what you're doing, you know, getting fruit festivals out to people, because literally, I mean, yeah, as much as my videos can change lives, coming to a fruit festival is totally a different experience than just watching videos online, because, you mean, you're with 250 other people you never met before in your entire life that are doing the same thing from, like, literally around the world, and it's just so amazing to see people, talk to people, connect with people, go to different talks. And actually I really got to do a fun thing. I got to go on a fruit, basically a farm tour with some people here. They had a blast and I had a blast, and I just love the festivals, and I want there to be more of them around the world so I could go to like one festival every month of the year for the whole year. And I just would love that more than anything else, to be able to reach more people and get this, fruit and vegetable-based message out to more people. So any final comments or words of wisdom you'd like to share today, Ronnie, with anybody?
Yeah, I would just say that being at these events really does make a big difference. When you get here and you become part of it. I know we're talking about there's been some bad events, there's been some events that, and even the ones that I'm part of, they've not been perfect yet. I'm still getting there. But there's such a fantastic community. Come and be part of the community. Actually meeting John is going to have an even bigger impact than the impact that he's already having with you with his videos. When you get to be around him, when you get to be around these people that have been raw long term, you pick up on their mindset, on their habits, on the way they look at things. It's and that's an incredible value. But yeah, go out there and do it and get in touch and ask questions. And I really want you to think of this as like a life purpose. Like we're talking about, the money is important for sure, but do it out of purpose. Think about the fact that in 100 or 200 years, or even when you've got grandchildren, and they say to you, "What did you do when you knew that you had the answer to so many people's health problems and so many problems of the world? What did you do?" And you can stand up and say, "Well, I tried my best. I put on some events. I got information out there on YouTube," or whatever you did. But go out and do something to help grow this community, and I think the fruit festivals are an excellent way of doing that.
I mean, I agree. I mean, that's my mission and purpose. That's why I make so many videos, and put those out for you guys to help inspire change, and not only one person at a time, but also, if this video just finds one person, I know you're out there, that one person that really wants to put on a fruit festival, right? Now you've seen this, you've been motivated, you could contact Ronnie, and it could now happen. And that'd be because of this video and because of me. And then that means that I'm reaching now like even 500 more, 250 more people that are attending your event because I made this video. And Ronnie, thank you for taking the time to do this today, because it is so important to both of us. Anyways, if you guys enjoyed this format, want more videos like this in the future, hey, please be sure to give this video a thumbs up. Also, be sure to leave your questions and comments down below. I try to take a look at those, especially for the next few days after this video has been published. Also, be sure to click that subscribe button and make sure you hit the bell notification so you are notified of my new and upcoming episodes that are coming out every 5 to 7 days. You never know where I'll show up or what you'll be learning on my YouTube channel. And also be sure to check my past episodes. My past episodes are a wealth of knowledge, including all my different fruit festival reviews, so you guys can find out the best ones to go to, and as much as many other videos on how you guys could eat more fresh fruits and vegetables in your diet so you guys could get optimally healthy. So with that, my name is John Kohler with OKRaw.com. We'll see you next time, and until then, remember, keep eating your fresh fruits and vegetables. They're always the best.